So thanks, Ang, and another round of applause for pulling together today, because we were talking about doing this for a little while, and like most or a lot of things that I'm involved in anyway, you end up forgetting about it, and then but we were emailing a couple of weeks ago, and she said, "Oh no, we still want to do something." So we did it. We pulled this together, and to have all of you come along as well is absolutely amazing today. So we're going to have a bit of fun. It's interesting. This podcast was something I did. I was actually sitting on my back deck over summer after Christmas last year, and I just thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to start a podcast. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, and I was at that perfect number of beers where I actually followed through with an action, and so I messaged a couple of guys, and one of them, Josh Patossi, who I don't think he's flown in yet, but he was the first guest I had. He replied to me within about 5 minutes, and so I didn't really have the choice not to do it. And then so I just sort of set the goal to keep doing it every week, and I sort of came from the place where I just having worked big agency for a long time, like we work with a lot of different partners and businesses of different shapes and sizes. And the thing I love most about the Shopify ecosystem is all the sort of independent developers who come through and build stuff, often starting with one or two people, and build some of the best product and do some of the best innovation. It's not to discredit the really big enterprise platforms that I have a lot of respect for as well, but actually, if none of them are here, I probably can disrespect them. But I just wanted to sort of tell some of those stories of some of the independent people, and it's great to have so many of the people in the room today who also replied to a cold LinkedIn message from me or an email to say, "Do you want to come on this this podcast?" And I've never been asked for audience numbers or anything like that from people, or everyone seems to be happy to just take part, and we've had a lot of fun. So today's you've got lots of stuff coming up this week. There's going to be a lot of keynotes and brought fireside chats and all that kind of stuff. And so, I don't want to share some great insights from the people who've been good enough to share their time today, but also, keep it pretty cheerful and fun. And I guess give a little bit of a teaser for the big week ahead, because it's going to be a really big, full-on fun week. And I think even today there's so many events on, and it's So let's get started. We're going to bring our first panel up. So we've got 3 people going to join us up on the stage. So we've got we'll invite Matt, Elena, and Dan all up on the stage here. So we've got I'll start from shake hands and
like super formal. Okay,
you've all been hanging out for the last hour anyway, so you don't. But that's good. Good. So Matt comes from it's Lightwood, isn't it? But the company behind Mechanic and Locksmith. So what I'd consider a couple of real OG apps in the Shopify ecosystem, and apps that I've been using for a very, very long time. And so when we were chatting the other week and had the chance to get you on the panel today, I was really, really chuffed. So thanks for joining us today. That's all right.
Thank you so much.
That's all right. And we've got Daniel here as well, who's come all the way from you're based in Spain, so you've flown out of the happiest country in the world to be here.
Yeah, I was actually in the air during the game, which was unfortunate, but I watched it on the plane.
Did you scream?
I actually did scare an attendant.
I would have thought all the planes in the world would have had the scores on last night, but I was on a flight with not even Wi-Fi, so it was
same here. Unfortunately.
Elena from Consentmo. So it's wonderful to have you here. Unfortunately, your luggage didn't get here. So
if you see me the next days, chances are I'm gonna wear the same thing because I have my luggage not delivered with me.
And I feel you're probably the one person sitting up here who actually had a decent suitcase full of luggage for the week.
23 kilos loaded, dresses for every event, platforms, heels, 7 pairs of shoes, everything somewhere across the Atlantic right now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it gets here soon. So, but no, look, thanks for coming. And I'll start with you, Elena. So, you joined us on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I'd sort of reached out to you because, you're behind an app that does compliance, which is just, not anymore. No, not since I came across Consentmo. So, look, I'm just keen to sort of hear how you go about a week like this, because the whole Shopify communities here, and yeah, you're someone that brings the energy along, and yeah, I'm sure you've been planning for this for weeks. So yeah, what tips do you have for everyone to be ready for a week like this?
That's a good one. For sure, preserve your voice, because last year, on the second day, I was speaking like this. Nobody was hearing me. So preserving your voice is super important. If you go to a party like the Epic Party tonight, don't try to scream over music so you can connect to someone. Like, do the bare minimum, connect on LinkedIn for sure, write a short message with something funny, let's say, like, you have a funny shirt, whatever. And then just connect with them in the next day, because if you scream tonight, you won't have a voice in the next day. So, like, believe me, I think that's super important, because that your voice is your tool right now. So yeah.
Absolutely, very
Yeah.
and Dan, how about you? How do you get the most out of a week like this? What are you looking for from? Yeah, is it just a junket for you, or are you? What are you looking to achieve this week?
I'm really looking forward to meeting with some people at Shopify working on different APIs. I love how they make these people that are actually doing code and the PMs available to us. So I think that's a huge opportunity. And then also just catching up with everyone in the ecosystem that I know online and I see once or twice a year. It's great to have most of everyone together in some place.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt, you've probably traveled the least distance out of any of us that are here, and yeah, you've managed to get all your stuff here as well. So well done. And but it must be exciting for you to see all these people flock from all over the world to come and congregate about the same topic.
It's awesome to see everyone come in and get to see all my friends who I haven't seen for about a year. And also just amazing to see all the other people from Shopify. I mean, as we've been building apps for a long time, and sometimes things are changing with Shopify, we need to update our apps. And so to have a person to talk to before we're actually going to be doing some of that stuff is vital. And so that's what I love about these conferences as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We might dig into your apps a little bit. So yeah, you've got, as I said, a couple of OGs in the ecosystem, and yeah, very well, they've been very successful, and very almost, I guess, in the Shopify community anyway, are household names. What keeps Mechanic and Locksmith fresh? Where are you going at the moment? What are you doing that's exciting there?
Well, I think just my strategy. I think the first thing is just attention. It's hard to keep your attention on an app or your project for over a long period of time, but sort of maintaining that attention and focus on your community, on what Shopify is doing, on your platform, your product is really important. And sort of when you remove that attention is when things decay. And I think that's where some of the opportunity exists in the App Store today, is looking at where maybe that attention isn't being put on. So I think building tools, like we try and build tools that are filling gaps instead of building features or replacing features. We're trying to build tools that our merchants can build with. So, in Mechanic, that's task, actions, events. In Locksmith, that's keys, conditions, and locks. And they can reconfigure those in ways that I haven't even imagined yet. So that's sort of our approach. And then I think also just build a community. I like to build a community around what we're trying to build, because I think about community as distribution built on trust. And so I think, that's sort of, And I think exciting stuff coming up is just, I'm loving the AI era. It is an exciting time. It's also a time you can burn yourself out because you have these crazy tools, but I'm having a ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you, one of the things that seems really topical, it's brand new, is the Sidekick extensions as well.
Yeah.
Have you started looking into how, like, you've got very traditional interfaces, I guess?
Yes. Yeah. And so we have looked at that, and there's a couple things there. So we need almost a tighter integration. So we built some AI tools into Mechanic, and then we started to give our users like a CLI and things that they could use their AI tools with. But one thing is so I do want to build Sidekick extensions, but we need to move off of like the OAuth legacy token exchange, right? And that is the way people built app for years. And now, in order to move to Sidekick, we need to do this, except that we have thousands and thousands of stores relying on our product. And if we flip the switch and something goes wrong, that's why I want to be at this conference to talk to. Like, I have a list of questions for sessions that I want to talk to the people building these tools, so that I can get the information and say, hey, maybe could I call you if something happens? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you how do you balance like it? I see like a lot of apps have built things like Sidekick extensions already and been very quick to market with it, which is amazing. And it's great for people to be the early adopters, and that's how the innovation happens. But how do you balance doing that with not creating stuff that can be a little bit gimmicky or not actually provide much use out there?
I think generally, like if something comes out and there's just like, for instance, when the built for Shopify stuff came out, before that there was another program right before that called like the early adopters of the design guidelines, and like that was one we just went for. That made a lot of sense. But when it's things like new integrations and things, honestly, I recommend being a little bit slower if you're a well-established app, because you want to make integrations that work and that are actually effective. And then also, Shopify changes sometimes. They release something, then they change, and so like maybe you don't want to be the first to adopt it in a very established app.
Yeah, cool. And Elena, I'd love to hear Consentmo. Yeah, like you're always adapting to obviously the consent laws around the world is a minefield that you're dealing with, and you're obviously always having to adapt to that. But yeah, how do you see the types of tools you're building adapting with things like Sidekick?
Yeah, we're always careful with AI, to be honest, because we're dealing with customer data and privacy. And every time Shopify makes a release, like all the, winter editions, summer editions, everything was like one step towards AI. And the more they step into AI, the more they step away from compliance. So we integrate with Sidekick. So now currently you can ask questions in Sidekick and you'll be like, is my banner available for Europe and the US, or where is my banner actually available? How many impressions I have? What is my consent log rate or whatever? So it actually pulls data from Consentmo. You can get that quite easily just chatting. So we actually were one of the first ones to release. I think Judge Me released, and then we were like, I don't know, a week after that released that. So we're integrating quite carefully, and we're implementing AI quite carefully as well. This doesn't mean that we don't use it to bring crazy value to the app. Like, I think we have an interesting statistic. In the last 6 months, we shipped PRs, the same amount of PRs that we shipped for the last 6 years.
I believe it.
Yeah, exactly. So our dev team is like going crazy on shipping, but because also we need to be quick on just implementing new laws, quick on implementing features that we want to do, quick on just the roadmap, and roadmap is changing all the time. But when it comes to AI, we're very careful. And again, from a compliance perspective. So yeah, Sidekick, we're implemented. We're going to do even a further implementation. Like that's just the beginning for sure. Everybody's using it. But yeah, we need to be careful when it comes to compliance specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. And Daniel, you've built a platform that's a bit newer to the scene than particularly Mechanic and Locksmith. And I sort of the one thing I saw through a lot of your marketing stuff is you're unashamedly almost like a Matrixify 2.0. And so I'd love to hear about how you go about building something that is it's essentially doing similar to what Matrixify does, but with a different slant. And that's one of the most exciting things I think about the app ecosystem is there are also plenty of people that just do a copy and paste job of an app and rip it off. But I'm not suggesting you're clearly not that, or I wouldn't have had you along here today. But I'd love to just sort of hear how you go about taking, I guess, sort of fairly old concepts on the platform and what you do to build something that's unique and different to that.
Yeah, sure. So just a little bit of background. I also started AbleStar, and that's been around about 10 years now on the Shopify App Store. So we have lots of experience in doing backend data management and all. And last year we sold Altera, which, like you said, is kind of an alternative to Matrixify. And the real, thing I noticed was like Matrixify just hasn't been updating. Metafield definitions have been around for 5 years, and they don't support it. And it's keeping partners behind, and it's keeping people from implementing new Shopify features. So that's really what the whole thing's been built for. And I like to kind of touch on AI. We've used that a lot, and it's been used some in the development and then also in the testing. Tests are really important for us. So with our development, every night we have hours and hours of these automated tests that just run all these possible edge cases of spreadsheets to make sure that they run correctly. And I don't want to write tests like that, and it's not fun. And using AI has been great for that.
Yeah, so when a new, like say a new API version comes out now, so how much quicker is it now to be able to actually deploy those new features and build stuff in line with them?
Yeah, it's been really good. So, for example, Shopify just released these new collection sources, and we have full support for that in the app, and it's being rolled out now, and it has really allowed us to keep up the velocity while also with all these tests, making sure that we don't break things for these some edge cases.
Yeah, awesome. And so and so like in terms of managing stuff like data, like how are you seeing like customers actually behave different, not by customers I mean merchants, sorry, but behave differently with the way that they're handling data and bringing it in? Like it's always something where traditionally I think people stuff is in columns, it's in a really structured format for people to manage, and that means that you've got the right stuff going in, but it also means that you can end up with as soon as you break that, it can get messy and scary. And how do you balance sort of, I guess the people seem to be a lot messier and scrappier with their data now. How do you work with that?
Yeah, that's fair, and we try and make it as safe as possible. So, for example, if you have a blank cell for a meta field, we won't delete that unless you check a box that says, "I want to delete these." And there's just different things like that. We try and figure out like what a human would possibly make a mistake at and try and catch that. I think also the so like we have a CLI, MCP, and Sidekick extensions, and using the Alteras through the MCP server CLI is also great because you can take advantage of the AI stuff, but you also have exports and imports recorded to the CSVs. So you have a log of kind of what's been changed and who's been changed or who's changed it. And you can also kind of lock down what resources get access. So that's been helpful. Uh, and then just to speak to the Sidekick integration, when we launched the Sidekick integration, it quickly was more popular than the CLI and the MCP integrations. It just went straight up. And a few things, it's not quite as sticky, I found, as the MCP or the CLI
Yeah.
ones, but it's been very helpful for people with questions about formatting. They can just look that up there and also been happy with that.
So you're seeing like high adoption, but not sort of continued use with it, kind of.
Continued use, but it might be like 1 or 2 requests
Okay, cool.
per day, whereas and some of it's also just the limits of Sidekick. You can't like upload
Right.
files, so
No,
imports
exactly.
themselves have to be done in the app.
Right.
But we can see if someone asked a question on Sidekick and they ran an import 10 minutes later, it's probably related.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with MCPs, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. To me, an MCP is fantastic in an isolated case, and it's wonderful. And whenever I see someone builds an MCP for their app, I think, oh, geez, I need to start building an MCP for my app because I want to be as good as them. But I also look at that and think no one wants to be accessing 15 different MCPs, and each one, like as much as once you hear people talk about how they've got all their MCPs set up beautifully and they've got can take a nice screenshot of all the folders on their computer set nicely or whatever, but it's almost impossible to manage lots of MCPs, isn't it? So that's where Sidekick comes in really well, isn't it? Because you can have one, it might not be as flexible for every app, but to be able to go and ask for, that information about your what your cookie banners look like in a certain country, what your product data is doing, what automations you've got set up. Like I think just to be able to query that from one place, I think is where the real value is, and where it's probably to me that's the whole principles behind the whole app ecosystem, isn't it? Even things like built for Shopify and having everything embedded in, because as much as you can have an app that probably has a better dashboard and a better interface if it's not living in Shopify, if you're a merchant and you've got 15 apps on your store and each one of them has a totally different interface and a different login and all that sort of stuff, I think that's where you start to end up with a whole ecosystem that's much worse, even though you can potentially build something that's better. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all nodding. I needed to get a verbal answer because we're recording this, but yeah, I'll just we'll put in the subtitles. Everyone nods, in agreement. So that's good. But no, look, actually, I want to keep going all day on this, but I realise we've got 2 more groups of people coming up. We've been a little bit crazy. We sort of just started talking to people about this event today, and ended up we actually had 8 people on the panel, and one person who had their flight cancelled. So we've got to keep moving. But we'll have some time. We might try and get a couple of you back up for some questions at the end, and we'll all hang around and look forward to talking lots throughout the week. I'm sure this has started a heap of really good thoughts and conversations for people. So can we get everyone to give a big hand for Elena and Daniel and Matt there?